All right. So we are at pretty much the final stage of a small business sales process. Now, I've lost count how many proof of concepts I've done or proof of values I've done. I've done a lot of these. I think I've probably at least been through a good 200 proof of concepts. Proof of values. I'm gonna stop using that lingo. I've been through at least 200 of these in my last 10 years in sales. And you might look at that and go, well, I mean, 200 proof of concepts, 10 years in sales, you're only doing 20 a year. Trust me, I did 20 proof of concepts or proof of values in a year is no joke. That will take it out of you. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to just get it to this point. Not to mention the work involved in getting it done. Now, thankfully, a small business proof of value, an SMB, 250 seat account proof of value is a lot more gentle than like a 2,000 seat, 5,000 seat, 10,000 seat organization. That shit is brutal. Okay, there is a lot more complexity to that. This can be controlled quite straightforward with a pretty straightforward process, right? So, what does it look like? Well, it starts off with scoping, right? Now, I don't want to go right down into the weeds here. This module itself would literally be like 2 hours if I went into all the details. So I am going to hold some stuff back just purely for sanity's sake, because otherwise I'm going to be filming forever. So if you really need help, just book some time with me in the link in the description below. My team would have put a book a call link in with me. So just book something in with me and we can have a chat about your business and the context and how this is potentially relevant to you. But you want to start off, we go back to this, you want to start off with scoping, okay? I haven't explicitly mentioned it on this slide, but your engineer, prior to the POV kickoff call, right? So might actually just modify the slides in real time. Scope POV, okay? The easiest way to scope a POV is you want to understand what is the customer's pain points that you've identified. You should have done all this by now, right? So this is why discovery is so important. Qualifying the deal is so important. Understanding pain is so important. Understanding current state is so important. You don't have that, dude. You don't have a deal because you have no legs to stand on the latter half of the sales cycle, right? This is why reps get killed by competitors. This is why I killed so many other reps in competing organizations when I was selling, right? Especially in my time at CrowdStrike, my time at Gartner, dude, I've made some sales reps' lives miserable, right? And it's because I ran a tight process and they didn't. So it's what happens, right? If you skip steps, you get screwed later. You get screwed by reps like me, right? So you scope the POV. And typically when you're scoping the POV, you want to understand the pain, you want to understand their current state, and then you want to understand what capabilities do we have that is going to align to that pain, and then how are we going to test that capability in the proof of value. Your engineer should be doing this for you, okay? If you have a good engineer, they should just know how to do that, right? It's a pretty straightforward process. So if I outline it over here, it's like find pain. I'm sorry, I'm spelling it out for you, but hopefully this helps, right? Find pain, link, align your solution to said pain, come up with feature/capability that you will test to validate that pain is going to be alleviated. All right, pretty straightforward. Kind of hard to fuck that one up. Um, no, no less truer words have been spoken. I've definitely had proof of values that have gone really wrong, because you got to understand as well, you're now at the mercy of the tech gods, right? And tech can fail. So God forbid you've talked a big game and then you get to a proof of value and then your tech fails, right? Shit happens. So that's just the reality of the game that we play. Now, so proof of value, scope it out. The scope needs to be in a document. Again, if you have a good engineer and you have robust engineering pedigree in the organization, then this should be like, this should be well-known information. If it's not, well, what you do is you scope out all the pain, then you come up with the features, and then you come up with basically the test, right? How are we going to test that feature? We're going to press this button, we're going to do this, and success looks like this. Then you come up with that criteria on the scoping call with the customer and confirm that criteria back to them and say, look, you've told us all of this stuff. This is what we're going to test, and this is what success looks like. Are we both on the same page? You point blank nail them to the wall, right? This is why I think it's so important to do this, because when you nail your customer to the wall and you say, look, this is the scope of what we're testing. We're not testing anything outside of the scope, right? We map this on the scope. What is in the scope basically means if we achieve this, you're going to fucking buy, right? Like you have to nail customers to the wall. I know this seems very, very aggressive, but trust me, it's not. It's good for the customers, because at the end of the day, like getting deals done sometimes is like herding cats. Jesus Christ, I have literally had to bully some CIOs into getting deals done. I'm like, dude, this is the right thing for you. Like, we've been speaking for freaking months now. Like, why are we dragging our feet? And I've literally had like CIOs where I've just gone like, I'm going to turn off your proof of value instance because, and this is another thing, sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but this is an important point. The proof of value is actually really powerful, right? So that story that I mentioned before of saying I'm going to turn off the proof of value, I literally did that to a customer who was almost entirely deployed. They were using our proof of value instance. They deployed all of their agents, this is when I was in CrowdStrike, across their entire freaking fleet. And they were basically using the platform for free. And I was like, hey, I know you love this platform and you need to buy this platform. So if you don't send me a purchase order in the next 48 hours, I'm turning this shit off. Right. And then I actually rescinded on that. And I said, next 24 hours, management is giving me pressure. Of course, management wasn't giving me pressure. I was putting artificial pressure on the customer. But you should have seen how quickly purchase orders, turned around when you put that kind of pressure on them. So proof of values are really powerful as well, because, a good software is like crack. You give them crack, and then they're suddenly like, oh my God, don't take it away. I really need this, et cetera, et cetera. So you can use it to get them back on track. Anyways, do the scoping, map the scoping on a document, share that document with your champion, make sure that everyone is on the same page. Then you will have a kickoff call. Very straightforward. Usually during the kickoff call, you're setting up your instance, you're taking them through the UI, you're making sure that everyone is good, right? Everyone knows what to do. And then what you do is on that kickoff call, by the way, this kickoff call, this is set up at the end. If you don't remember already, you set up the kickoff call at the end of your go, no go meeting, right? So very straightforward, get that done. Then on the kickoff call, what you will do at the end of that kickoff call is set up 2 check-ins, okay? The check-ins are really straightforward. They're usually just 15 to 30 minutes, right? Like really straightforward catch-ups, 15 to 30 minutes. And what you're doing on those check-ins is essentially you're just going through, you're checking in with the customer. Hey, how are you finding testing? You might do some testing with them, right? If you're going to have a testing call, maybe make it 45 minutes. Typically when I was at CrowdStrike, I'd make these 30 to 45 minutes. But again, I was a commercial rep, so I was selling mid-market, so it was a little bit chunkier, the deals and the time involved. But typically you'd have 2 to 3 check-ins, very straightforward, 15 to 30 minutes. If you need, make it 45. You'll do a bit of that testing. So the idea is while you're on those check-ins, you want to do that testing with them. So you're really, really nailing them to the wall and saying, hey, we mapped out the criteria and I've tested the criteria with you, and you're literally ticking things off as you're going through it, right? So once you've done your check-ins, right? So typically maybe on your first or second check-in, you set up a final wrap-up call, right? And the final wrap-up call, you get the economic buyer back on that call, right? So it's your champion and your economic buyer. And what you're doing on that wrap-up call is you're essentially replaying the criteria, right? You see how all of this kind of feeds, right? Like what you do before feeds into the next step. So you replay the criteria and you say, guys, here's the criteria. You outlined this. We tested this. And you told us this shit works. Now, this is all predicated on your tech actually working, okay? So if you have vaporware, like vaporware basically means it says it does something, but it doesn't do that, then you're kind of screwed, okay? That's where a proof of value will expose you. And there is definitely some shitty technology out there. So you got to be careful about this. This is a double-edged sword. But provided you don't have vaporware and your technology actually works, the wrap-up meeting is the best way to essentially fulfill and finalize that social contract that if the technology works, they are buying, right? So what I would typically do is I'd replay back the results, or my engineer would replay back the results. We're all on the same page. And then you're just asking the golden question. It's like, gents, is everyone on board? Is everyone happy? We've discussed timelines. Are we in a position to move forward? That's your close, right? Now, there is something you can do to close it even earlier. And this is something that I have used so many times that I've lost count, okay? And that is what I like to call your POV to production closing talk track. And typically, I've actually outlined it here. Typically, this is assessed during the second or the third check-in. So if things are going really well, I've had proof of values that have gone like so well, right? They've literally just gone, wow, this is like the best technology. We freaking love it. We want to move ahead. We want to buy this stuff. Like I've had, customers that have literally just been foaming at the mouth, right? Like they've been so excited once the proof of values kicked off. They're like, this tech is phenomenal. And so my engineer would actually assist me in closing this early, right? So they'll literally just say, hey, given we've achieved all the key criteria, how are you placed to move this into a full production environment at this date, right? Or how are you positioned, or how are you placed to move this into a full production environment right away if you guys are really comfortable? Right? An even simpler way is, hey, we've hit the criteria. Yes, yeah, we've hit the criteria. The customer will say, yes, we've hit the criteria. We love this thing. So you could literally say, hey, so look, so what now? I mean, are we in a position, are we in a position to proceed with an order? Shall we go ahead and deploy? Right? This is something your engineer can do, because now it's not coming from you as a salesperson. It's coming from your engineer on the call. Is a nice, smooth way just to kind of get them into the close, right? And you might be skeptical. You might be like, surely it's not that easy. Trust me, it's that freaking easy. I've done a stack of deals. I'm talking a few million in deals with my engineer pulling this stunt, right? It's very straightforward. Again, all of this is predicated on your tech being good. If your tech is crap, then this stunt isn't going to work. So that is why, and I've highlighted it here, it is important to finalize commercial viability before the proof of value. Don't wait till this point to then send contracts out. You send the contracts out after the go, no go meeting, like immediately after. You tell them, hey, look, looking forward to kicking off the proof of value. Just to make your life easier, in the meantime, I'm going to send through the MSA / the terms and conditions. I'm going to send through the quotes as well, so you guys can at least have a look in the meantime while we kick things off technically. And then what you do is, if things are going well in the proof of value, you just chase up your champion. Hey, how are those contracts going? Right? Have you guys reviewed them yet? Is there any issues, T's and C's? Are you guys all on board? Does legal have any problems? This is why you want to be running. This is why you want to be running those two processes concurrently, right? You're running. Sorry, so just after midnight over here, and I'm recording pretty late, so yawning. But you want to be doing your commercial process, and you want to be doing your technical process concurrently, right? Like that is so critical that you do that. So that is effectively textbook how to run a POV, right? Like that is textbook how to run a POV. I again have highlighted it here. If there are no technical hiccups, this almost always guarantees a deal. And I'll leave you with one story. My first ever deal at CrowdStrike, I thought I had this deal in the bag. And I still remember the platform absolutely shat itself. Like we were trying to deploy into a customer that had a very broad environment, and they had some endpoints and some instances that we were trying to cover in the islands, right? Like they had like a presence in like Samoa or Tonga or something, and Wi-Fi is shit over there. And we were trying to deploy, and holy crap, it was not working out. And we look like absolute numpties, especially after we'd talked a massive game. So you got to leave a margin for error. And this is why we have coverage. This is why you want to have multiple deals in your pipeline, because your best deal could turn around and go to shit, right? So you gotta be careful about that. Anyways, the last thing that I will just actually mention here as well is, as the proof of value is wrapping up, so either you can try to close it early with the POV to production close, and in that situation, you can use the wrap-up call as a kickoff call, right? I've done this a ton of times. So when the customer has said, yep, we love the tech, the testing is fine, everything is good, I literally just say, hey guys, are you ready to move this into production? The customer will say, yeah, happy to move it into production. Then I'd say, fantastic, we'll do that in the background. Can you just get me that paperwork back? Quote comes back, signed off, fantastic. I turned the wrap-up call into the kickoff / deployment kickoff call, and we're off to the races. If that's not the case, right, so you do go ahead and do the wrap-up meeting. You might ask them the question, gents, are we all on board to just move forward? Is everyone comfortable? They might say, yep, we're comfortable. Then what you can do is you can essentially establish a what I like to call a target kickoff meeting, right? So you can literally, essentially you're getting, you're going to put it in their calendar and say, hey, while we're waiting for the contracts to come back, here is the kickoff meeting. I'll put it in your calendar. We're going to use this time to kick off the deployment process. So again, what you're doing is you're just keeping the momentum. You're just keeping things moving in the right direction, right? These are all subtle psychological hacks that you want to think about. Is just creating constant momentum, constantly nudging things forward, constant next steps, right? So important, even at the end of the sales cycle. Anyways, if you have watched all of the videos in this SMB AE readiness series, congrats. I've just given you a fair amount of content, and I hope you've gone through and really digested all of it in a deep level and taken some good notes. Go back and rewatch stuff if you need to. And again, keep in mind, guys, there's only so much I can convey across to you in video, right? So there's probably going to be a lot more stuff that comes up as you go through this, and a lot of it is going to be around contextualizing it to your business. So I would recommend for that, reach out to me. My team's going to have links in there's the description below. So depending on when you're seeing this video, I'll usually have slots open to do strategy and diagnostic sessions where I can kind of unpack a little bit more with you. So feel free to do that, book in some time with me, and I'm happy to have a chat. Anyways, hope that was useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on, well, there's no next video in this video series, so yeah, go back and rewatch, or just watch another video in my channel.